Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. As always, welcome back to the Amateur Hour podcast episode double five 55. Mate, how are you? And how are you doing?
Very, very good, bro. This is a good one. I'm actually genuinely excited for this one. For obviously, I know we just had Josh on, who obviously is really well in Classic at PCA, but Liam is someone that we also looked at quite a while ago on the Rate Your Physique episode, whichever one that was. To see him go from an amateur to just winning his fucking pro
Mm.
card, his first ever season, insane. So obviously, I think it's gonna be a really, really good episode, bro.
Oh, mate, it's cool. It's cool. It's the
Right.
exact reason why we started this podcast in the first place was to like to amateur bodybuilding show day reviews because we thought that no one else is doing it really. And then next thing you know, we did a Rate Your Physiques episode. He got voted in. Next thing you know, we rated his physique as an amateur. We literally said, I don't think he has any weak poses.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
more what we think. Next thing you know, mate, I think it's probably 3, 4 months down the line, and he's got his pro card in his second ever show. Yeah, mate.
mental.
So, you know, so we've got him on. We wanted to get him on because I know a lot of people out there who are young like him, 22, which is still crazy. And I think I wanted to get him on as well because people have just seen, oh, it's his second show, but he's been doing bodybuilding for a long, 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 long time. From what I've heard anyway, and from what I've seen and from what I've heard him say. So it'll be good to get him on board, see what he has to say about where he's at now, post prep, his prep in general, how show day went. Obviously, he did the Two Bros show. He did Ross's show over in Ireland, which was good. Obviously, took the overall there, and we'll get his thoughts and feelings on where he's at now. Obviously, what his goals are, which we already know what they probably are, mate. I think he's very level-headed in the sense where he knows. I think he said he's a very shit pro now, so so he knows what to do. And obviously, being at such a young age, mate, his runway of progression is honestly ridiculous. And think about how long it is until he's actually in his prime,
Yeah,
like 10 years,
yeah, yeah. Exactly.
which is pretty crazy to think, mate. But we're going to get him on. I'm going to send him across the link now, but we'll wait until he's on, mate. But other than that, bro,
We have got his Instagram here. If Should we look at this now? Or should we look at this when he's on?
we'll look at, to be fair, mate, we can look at him when it's on there, mate. We can sort of say, "Okay, this is what we think of what the look
Yeah,
is.
we'll go for it with him.
But um, but now it's to send it across. He did tell me he has just been he's such a pro now. He's been freestyle posing in his kitchen. So if he does look pretty flustered, that's why. But you don't see me freestyle posing in my kitchen. And if I do, I'm probably taking the piss in front of Charles.
I'm
So
expecting him to join this in his trunks.
oh yeah, for sure, mate. I'll get
Yeah,
him to the full round with water turn to your left, please.
yeah. Could you rate your physique on?
My live rate your physiques. I'm Tyler Mannion now. Get posing for me.
Yeah, literally. Oh, bro. Oh, mate.
Oh, but that'll be good, mate. It'll be good. We'll see what he's saying. Obviously, we're going to try and get more people on because what he's been through. We wanted to ask him, but then I thought, obviously, with trying to wait until the dust settles a little bit, and I
Yeah,
said that to him, and he goes, "Oh, it's pretty cool that we've got him on," which is always good because he's an avid listener of the podcast. He did say that as well, which is
cool.
always good. But, mate, how's your day been before he comes on?
Today's been good, bro. Woke up feeling a little bit like I'm coming on to a cold, so I'm assuming it's from PCA first timers. But it wasn't too bad. So I was like, "Look, I've got legs today. I've got rest tomorrow. I'm gonna just go in and train legs because it's not too bad. I just had a bit of a blocked nose. Actually had a really, really good session, but like after my leg press was like the main compound today. After that set, I was like, I know for a fact I've just made it worse. Like I'm ill. So tomorrow's rest day protocol is just going to be sleep as much as I
Mhm.
can. So hopefully it's not. It's like just one of those like couple days and I'm good. But
So
no,
many people
today's
have
been.
got it.
Huh?
So many people have got it from first timers. Hopefully, I haven't. Fingers crossed. I don't.
I need to stop shaking hands. I need to just fist bump because I shake hands with everyone. I'm like, oh, bro,
Mate, I'm a
get
fist bump, mate.
getting ill. I'm gonna stop. But no, it was a good session. Filmed for YouTube with the trusty camera. So
Lovely.
yeah, no, filmed for YouTube. Gonna get that out. Got a lot of people coming up at first timers saying that they watch the YouTube and that I need to get more consistent with it. So on the job doing that. Um,
And
yeah,
also about the podcast as well. I
no, but the
literally,
podcast got so many mentions, which was sick.
I think I had at least, I think nearly 10 people come up to me about the podcast. So
It was
pretty
so
sure
cool.
appreciate you all out there coming up to me and saying that you enjoy it. There's much more to come.
Yeah.
So anyway, you're in the
It
waiting
feels
room.
like we haven't been doing it for that long, but we
Mate,
are
no, mate, this is
at
what
55 episodes already, which is mental.
we are churning them out, mate. They always say, everyone says to me, all the episodes they come out like 3 a week, and it's class. So there we go. The runway is real. But here he is.
Liam.
Let's get to it. This is always the awkward part, isn't it? When they say
Yeah,
connect.
just waiting. Just
What am
waiting.
I going to say? Hello?
He's got a setup.
He's got a
Are we
full,
on?
mate. He's embarrassing me with a setup, mate. You got a full on setup, big man.
Hold on.
It's always the awkward part, isn't it?
Give him a sec.
Oh, why is this not working?
There we go. You got it, mate. You got it.
Can you hear us? No, not yet. Give us a minute.
This happened to me the other day, mate.
Yeah.
And it's so weird to say, like, I can hear you, you can't hear me. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, it was connected to my AirPods. I didn't realize.
Was that
Oh
what it was?
yeah, I didn't even know my AirPods were connected to the Mac, but apparently they are.
Why
Brilliant.
can't I hear anything?
Oh no.
Here we go. We can hear him, but he can't hear us.
Right, I've got it.
You got
We
it?
got it.
I've got it. It's this shitty Amazon microphone.
Oh.
I mean, I was thinking he's got the setup, he's got the mic and everything.
I've only used it for looms, but when it's plugged in, it takes away my audio.
I see.
Right.
Sort it out another time. How we doing, gentlemen? You good?
Very good, thank you, sir. How are you?
Yeah, man, I'm good. I'm all good.
Yeah. Still
Mate,
riding the high.
Yeah, a little bit. Kind of hasn't really, you know, been too busy to let it sink in, but it'll hit at some point.
that's why I wanted to ask you now, mate. Just let the dust settle a little bit. Like I said to you, just because you've probably been on such a high, probably had loads of people messaging you, etc. And I just wanted to make sure that everything's just like settled a little bit. But, mate, first question: how does it feel to be a pro bodybuilder?
Um, I don't know. Like I say, it hasn't really sunk in yet. It's kind of it's strange. Like you suddenly get loads of new respect from like loads of new people, but at the same time, you still kind of feel the same in a sense.
Hmm. No, I get you. And the reason why I asked that question, mate, is a lot of people that listen to this will be striving to become a good amateur and a
Yeah,
pro and a good pro. And what I wanted to realize was, and like you said on your story, you've gone from being a very, very good amateur to now a
a
very,
shit
in
pro.
your words, shit pro.
Shit pro.
So it's just a case of a lot of people will strive to become this pro and they feel that they'll feel different. Yeah, you'll feel different in some respects. But at the end of the day, this is where the work just starts, mate. Essentially, at your age, where we've always stated the fact that you're already 22 and it was your second ever show. But we just wanted to get a rundown of how your prep went. Obviously, it was your first prep, especially under, correct me if I'm wrong, if it was your
Yeah,
first
yeah, it was my first rep.
under Ross. We
Hmm.
did Ross's show on Two Bros, and then just give us a little brief rundown of how those shows went and what data you gathered running up into the second show, leading up until London. That's all right.
Yeah, so um, my first show was the Rossburn Emerald Classic, which was the first weekend in August, and that was the original focus. It was just kind of that was all we had planned. We figured we'd do a pro qualifier afterwards, depending sort of how we looked and how timelines lined up. But the main focus was that we did that. That was very. It was a learning curve for me being my first ever prep. I kind of went through the whole I'm fucking shit. I look terrible. I feel terrible. I don't really know what I'm doing. Am I cut out for this? We did that. I obviously did quite well. And then I feel like that's when I could enjoy prep. After that, I had 6 weeks until the Europeans. And that's when I feel like I got to be actually present in my prep because a lot of the expectation and the stress had gone, and I was able to kind of just enjoy it a little bit more.
No, for
Uh,
sure. That's something that we say all the time, mate, about being present and
yeah,
learning. But the fact that you learned that really quickly from your first show, and I remember hearing on your story the fact that I think did you come off Instagram for a few days prior to your second show?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Going back.
I, so you can set the focus modes on your iPhone.
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
set mine on permanently so that the only notifications that would come through were WhatsApps from clients and WhatsApps from Ross, and that was just on permanently. And it was because I'd kind of robbed myself of enjoying the peak for the first one because I was looking at, oh shit, look at this guy. He looks fucking sick. And it's like that comparison is the thief of joy. And I was stressing because it was something totally new to me. And I wanted to actually enjoy this peak and be present and kind of be aware of what's going on. So I kind of shut the world off, but kind of at the same time was more present with myself. And I think
No.
that's the best thing I could have done.
No, for sure, mate, for sure. And that's something that a lot of people learn later on down the line. You always hear, oh, I need to be more present this prep. But like I said, the fact that you had that transition from your first show to your second show, I wouldn't
Yeah.
say obviously how well the second show went, but I feel like that transitional period was definitely a positive thing for you, where from a mindset perspective, like where the mind goes, the body follows essentially. And when you put yourself in a more positive mind frame, being more present throughout not only peak week, but for that 6 weeks afterwards,
Yeah.
did you feel like it elicited a better response in terms of those 6 weeks?
Um, I don't know because at the same time, I still kind of felt like I looked like a bag of milk,
Hmm.
but I was a lot more sort of not to say that I wasn't trusting in Ross beforehand. I had full trust in him, but after the first show, I'd experienced what putting full trust in him was, and it's like a different level of trust where I can go, I look shit, but at the same time, I know Ross will get me in.
Hmm.
So whilst I wasn't really kind of feeling better about it, I didn't kind of feel the negatives of it at the same time.
Yeah, no, I get you. That's always a good thing, man. And like I said, the reason why I'm speaking about it is because a lot of people go through that negative mindset throughout prep, thinking they look awful, thinking they're not present. They not turn on their loved ones, but essentially they don't put themselves in a position where they can have relationships or the relationship that they once had with their friends, their family, their partner. But
Yeah.
your case, the fact that you transitioned so quickly just goes to show like how well you've done and how well you were as an athlete. But tell us that day of obviously show day, winning your pro card. Obviously, you won juniors. You went against Sam O'Keefe in the juniors.
Yeah. Yeah. Sam was, um, yeah, I didn't know anyone there, but it's like you'll know what it's like backstage is you make friends there with
Mhm.
people you meet directly again. So I've kind of made a friend in Sam. So yeah, I woke up sort of, I don't know, 6ish or so, still thought I look like shit, but you know what? I'm present. I'm going to enjoy this day. Obviously, I'd hung around the venue the day before. It was massive, so much bigger than the regional show. And so it's just that, just be present, put your trust in Ross. I, as doing juniors, I was at the second class on in classic, went on, and it's like, as soon as you step on stage, that kind of like that alter ego comes out
Mhm.
and just it's hard to describe to people that haven't, someone that hasn't been on stage and whatever their sort of sport is doesn't really understand that the mind kind of goes into autopilot and you find yourself like smiling at the judges, waving at the crowd, and then you get off stage and you're like, just like it's a bit of a blur.
Yeah, what happened there? That literally what I was thinking.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
But yeah, like, I mean, I did that, and as soon as I got off the prejudging for the juniors, um, Ross ran to the backstage area and was like, "Yeah, Liam, you're on." And obviously you get a bit of a high from being on stage. And at that point, I was, even though I hadn't seen myself, the confidence starts to build. They did they did the masters class A, class B, and then I was on with class C. And so funny story. The one of the guys in class C in the morning, as we were getting the top coat of tan on, he was in the tent next to me. Um, Much older than I was, much bigger. He looked peeled to the bone, and he leaned out the tent next to me. He looked at me, went, "Should have stayed at home, mate." And I was like, "Oh, all right, cheers, big talk." And I was like, "Oh fuck!" And this guy, I was like, "Fuck, he's twice the size of me. He's peeled to the bone." Like, oh, fucking great! But so I went on in class C, and with the order that we went on, I was on the outside. And after one round, Tyler moved me into the middle, and I was next to this guy, and I was like, "You know what? Fucking game on, douchebag." And
Mate, that's
I
crazy.
yeah, and then when I did go back on for finals for class C, it was me and him standing at the side for top one and two, and Bailey, the photographer, got a really good photo when they called him second, and I'm just like chuckling to myself because I was like, I'm glad I've won, but I'm happy that I've beaten this asshole.
Yeah,
Yeah. Mate,
amazing.
what? I've not, I bet that happens all the time, but it's the first time I've actually heard
Yeah,
them.
I don't know. Like, obviously, I've only done two shows, but every single other competitor I've interacted with has been like positive, and everyone's cracking on with each other and like bigging each other up. And that was the first time I'd had someone like trash talking essentially, and it kind of took us back a little bit.
That's so funny.
But yeah, he was a douchebag.
I think it actually it's better that he came second as well. I think if
Yeah.
it, I don't know, it's like a little like bit of sweet where it's like the fact that he came second is even better.
It definitely got him.
And then they awarded, was it two pro cards out of the four that were on stage?
Yeah, so obviously being class C, there was only like I came off stage and they were like, right, go straight to the ramp because it's only class D and then it's overall. So I kind of didn't really have time to soak up the fact that I was going into the overall. It was like, get back on the ramp, get your bands, get pumped up. Class D went on, and so I was back on stage within sort of 5-10 minutes. Um, the overall was a little bit of a blur because it was, we went through, I think we only went through one round of comparisons, and then Tyler called a pose down, and the crowd fucking loved that. I loved it. There's a couple great pictures Bailey got where my smile is literally ear to ear.
Amazing.
And they called us to the side, and they called second place first, the first pro card in second place, and it wasn't me. So at that point, gutted, but I was happy I made it to the overall. But I was like, it's all right. I've still done myself proud. And then they called like overall winner and pro card winner. They said my name, and so someone was filming from it. A few people were filming from in the crowd, but you could just see me stand there like a damn like deer in headlights for a good 5 or 6 seconds until, and I'm sorry, I forgot her name, but the last who was like organizing all the athletes on stage, she had to step in and was like, Liam, go the fucking middle.
Move, Liam.
I was like, okay, just completely in shock. And what's his name? I think it's Neil that runs the two rows.
Hmm.
Okay.
I got to the middle. He's it was like, Liam, stop fucking crying. People want to see you smile. I was like, I can't help it, mate. And yeah, that was pretty fucking crazy.
Nah, that's class, man. That's really, really good. I want to like backtrack on what you said there with Ross and how that trust transitioned. And I do get what you mean with that, with being like obviously you have a coach for a reason
Yeah,
for you to put your trust into them. But I do understand that transitional period in terms of, yeah, I feel like this, but I have full trust in my coach. And that I think levels you up as a bodybuilder because a lot of people say, oh, yeah, I trust the coach. but then they'll talk to somebody and go, I don't think what he's doing is right, and they won't follow the
Yeah,
plan, do something else, or
exactly.
they'll get someone else's opinion. But the fact that you had that period where they're like, okay, I still feel like this, but you still communicate with Ross effectively, and you still had that period where they're like, okay, well, I'm putting my full trust in you.
Yeah.
That it seems very basic, but a lot of people do get second opinions from other coaches or other people. What do you think of this? Well, the only person you should probably actually get your opinion off is your coach.
So,
So,
yeah, I mean, I wasn't so much getting opinions off other people, but it was like from like all the places that I've learned, and I don't currently prep people. Having not been through a prep myself, I was like, I'm never going to prep anyone. But I've gone through all the courses, and he makes a decision, and I'm like, that's not what Sean Jewett would have done on J3U.
mhm.
In my head, I'm like, oh, okay. And it's you think you have that full trust in someone, but it's only then when you kind of see it pay off, you then realize, you know what, I actually now completely have blind trust. And it's that transition of thinking you have full trust to then experiencing it and going, I absolutely have full trust now.
Oh yeah, for sure. And this
Yeah.
just goes to show like you can know everything, but as soon as you know that you have someone that he probably thought, does he know my body that well? Next thing you know, it like he does what's well
Yeah.
for you. And the next thing you know, it's like, oh, he does. And that trust
Yeah.
instantly increases. But especially having a coach that understands your body, not only like from a physical perspective, but also psychologically, how to manage you personally. That's massive, mate. And that's something that I don't feel like they can teach you on like G3U, these things where
That's
doing something
experience.
all experience, mate, like you said. And now he knows you like inside out. Like this will only get better and better as well, which is fantastic to
Yeah.
hear.
Like myself and Ross have like I'm sure you have the same with maybe a handful of clients that you are like genuinely good friends with, like
Mhm.
your friends before you're, a client and coach. So myself and Ross are actually quite close. And I do think that he knows what I'm thinking before I think it, or he can understand where my head's at from the way I word a text message. He just kind of has some knack of just getting me.
Yeah, and that's what they don't teach you, mate. That's what
Yeah.
and that's what separates you from being a good coach to a very
And
good coach.
elite coach.
Like everyone's different, mate. The way you word a message, the way they might come across. Like, for example, I might have a client who checks in at like 7:45 every single day. But if it's like 20 minutes late, I'm thinking, what's happened? Or
Something's up.
something's wrong. And I go, you're right, mate. And he goes, yeah, I've had a really rushed morning. I've done this. And I'm like, well, that's what's happened. So these little tendencies that you like to pick up on, but that's what separates a good coach to a very, very good coach. And then you go into like the psychological side of things, how they're going to feel when you do something different compared to what's obviously the traditional way of what John Jewett would do or what someone else would do. And
Exactly.
then, like I said, the reason why I want to bring that up is because a lot of people do that and they try and get other people's opinions to try and make them think differently. Then they start to not trust their coach when what their coach might have had in place was the best thing for them already
Yeah.
Yeah.
without them realizing. But how was your first prep in general? I mean, obviously, it was very good, but how was the experience with obviously what the setup was like, all that sort of stuff? Obviously, how long it was for, all that sort of stuff.
It was, you kind of understand that when people say no prep is ever smooth, because it was as probably as smooth as it could be. There were some definite bumps. There was some work stress. There was like I was in a relationship that ended about, I don't know, 6 weeks out from the first one. Um, there were some issues with my body. Like it got to a point where my body started to kind of really kick back, and I had some really bad swelling issues in my lower. But in the grand kind of scheme of things, it did go pretty smoothly.
Mm.
I had nothing that kind of made me think, fuck, I can't do this, or I shouldn't do this. The prep itself was, I think, 21 weeks from start to the end of peak week for the second show. We did, it was about 16 weeks, or no, it would have been about 14, 15 weeks till the first show. We got pretty much all the digging done then.
Yeah.
Did the first show, and then the period between the first one and the second one was just, can we hold what we've got and manage your fatigue? not drive you into the ground, but kind of just keep you ticking along,
Mhm.
which was psychologically harder because it's
I was going to ask you how you found that period because the reason when we prep, we go through a day of feeling awful and we get that gratification by seeing that new low. But
yeah, exactly.
when a coach says to you, going, Liam, the digging's done now. We've got 6 weeks till the next show. We're just going to hold the look here, probably refine it here and there. You're thinking, okay, so I'm going to feel like shit for a good 6 weeks, and the whole goal is to look the same.
Yeah, I know. It was I still thought like I needed to be leaner, but I look back at photos from the first show, the Emerald, and I'm like, fuck yeah, there's no fucking way I could have been leaner. But
Mhm.
it's at the time you kind of go, I still need to be leaner. Why are we just holding what we're doing? I'm still feeling like utter shit. But as it kind of progressed on, like it actually like baseline of food got higher throughout that 6 weeks. I didn't do any like massive crazy feeding going into the Emerald just because baseline food was generally in a pretty good place. My cardio never went above 20 minutes a day at that point. So although I still felt like shit, the last couple of weeks of digging for the first show, where I was like in that really dragging my heels place, I kind of was like, I've been through that, and I'm not feeling that shit. So I'm good. As shit as I do feel, I'm good.
Yeah, using that
And
as a reference point.
yeah,
No, I get
that
you.
that was my experience of prep. Like I've wanted to prep every year since about sort of 15, and I've been in this sort of like following this industry since then. And even with all of that kind of experience of seeing it and watching it, I still wasn't prepared for how tough that would be.
Yeah.
And that was my reference point of I've done that and I've been through that. And you have that digging phase that you always remember where you're like, fuck me, I've got to put my socks on and this is an effort.
Yeah.
And it never got that kind of tough again. So it was pretty okay after that.
That's the most prep thing. It was pretty okay.
What about your post show? Because obviously I know prep as a whole is difficult as a first timer, but post show is more often than not the harder part for a first timer. How have you found post show being?
Actually not bad at all. I think it helps that I went to the pro show on the evening of my show. I decided not to do it
Yeah.
um, because I owed it to my friends and the people that been there to support me to be present with them in the evening. And obviously, I wanted to watch Yemi. Yemi's my brother. I needed to see. I was more excited to see him on stage than be on stage myself. But the fact that I basically had like an hour and a half, 2 hours turnaround to go back to the apartment, scrub the shit off my face, get a little bit of food, and go back to the pro show. I didn't really get a chance to like binge or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, and I was like screaming for Yemi the whole time. So I got home after the pro show, and I was just knackered.
Yeah.
We ordered a pizza between us, and I finished it, and I was like, no, I'm fine. I don't need anything else. Got up the next day, had a few little bits and bobs, and was just otherwise back on plan. And I've allowed myself to, have a slice of life this past week and a bit, but I've also ticked every box and not felt the need to like binge or skip training or anything.
Good.
Hmm.
That's very
That's
I've
good.
good.
felt pretty good, really. All
Yeah.
things.
I'm a big believer of what got you in shape will keep you in shape afterwards. So probably kept the routine down. If you're doing any cardio, you probably keep them rest day cardio or steps or whatnot. So
Yeah, I've kept faster cardio in and little things like I just make sure I still hit my fasted round. I don't
mm,
send them across every day anymore. I don't need to bombard him with that shit. But just the action of still hitting it and still like leaving the house to go watch the gym to do my cardio in the morning just has kind of set me up. Like, yeah, you know what it's like. You're a creature of complete habit for 16, 20 weeks. And I know if I can just stay in that habit for this first week or two of post show, it'll be fine.
Oh, it will set you up massively, mate. Like I said, if you can keep those routines like fasted rounds, cardio, steps, like meal timings, etc., and then obviously, like you said, enjoy a slice of life on the side. It's
Mhm.
only going to help you massively either way because people either over restrict or overeat. They can't find that balance, and the fact that you're finding that balance, like I said, mate, is really, really good.
Yeah, I do think I've found that balance. Like, don't get me wrong, I've enjoyed some fucking food.
Good.
I haven't like it's all been pretty much sociable food. Like it's been the people I've had the food with rather than the food
Mm.
itself. I haven't sat on my sofa like just binging for like ordering on Deliveroo and seeing like 50 quid Deliveroo credit card. Posh. I haven't
Yeah.
done that. So it's I was terrified of the post show period,
Yeah.
but it's actually been a lot easier than I thought it would be.
That's good, man.
Good.
That's really, really good. Look, I think that's a big thing there of making your off plans or meals that you have with like sociable like occasions rather than like you said, being by yourself, then going back for more, being with people that you've not been able to have that time with for, like you said, 16, 20, 21 weeks, making it more sociable. It makes the time better rather than associating food with events and being with people is better than just like having the food itself.
Yeah, it's the company, not the food.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. But I think from my perspective, and I think it's always good to get, obviously, we don't know the ins and outs of between what's happened, but from my perspective, looking at your prep and how you've conducted yourself, mate, it couldn't have gone any better, to be honest. Not only just the result, but seeing your look improve. I know you said there, like, you didn't think that you were lean enough, which is obviously the case for most people, but that's, again, making sure that if you went leaner, you would have been eating into tissue and you would look like completely different, mate. And the fact that from where you started to where you were and what you finished, the look at the end was just really, really good, mate. From my perspective, anyway, from an outside perspective.
Thank you.
I don't know about you, Connor, for seeing a first timer, but there was no like on your story ranting about things, mate, that you see people do or saying that obviously people like you said, mate, obviously you didn't realize how much you were going to struggle, but like you said, you just cracked on with it and got it done. And I think that's what a lot of people do it, but there's a lot of people on the other side of the coin which don't embrace that side of prep
Yeah,
and like wish want it to be over. And I thought that's why you've handled this phase really, really well because you've not wished it to be over. You've been there, done it, done the post in the post show period now, and you're not sort of wishing it away to the point where it's like, oh, what am I going to do for the next 8 weeks, or sort of just taking each day as it comes, which is really cool to see, man. I think a lot of people will take a lot out
that
of.
was something I had written on my like I got a blackboard in my kitchen. So like my bathroom that I obviously go to every morning to weigh myself. I have to go through my kitchen and there's a blackboard on the door just for the bathroom. And one of the mantras that was written on there was one step at a time, one day at a time.
Mhm.
Because I knew at times if I sat and especially in that hard digging phase, if I sat and thought about fuck me, I've got to get up tomorrow and do an hour of cardio before I can even eat anything, and then the food is gone in 30 seconds, I would have sat in the corner and cried. But if
Mhm.
you take it one day at a time, and I failed at that a couple of times. I did kind of crumble a few times, going fuck me. I've just done an hour of cardio. I've got to do the same thing tomorrow. But for the most part, I did manage to kind of play it one day at a time.
No, for sure, mate. Would you say that's the biggest lesson learned or biggest thing that you recommend first timers doing?
I think the biggest lesson I learned was surrendering to the process a little bit,
Hmm.
which that was Ross's phrase really was surrender to the process. And it was learned through like the first peak week where I said like I was on my phone, I was looking at other competitors there, and I was like stressing. And every decision Ross made, I wouldn't question it as to like I think we should do something different. I would question it more like, okay, but why? What's the rationale behind that? And I was stressing about it a lot, and he did kind of sat me down afterwards and like you understand now. You just surrender to the process. Don't think about it. Just do what's in front of you.
It's so true, mate. Less thinking, more doing. That's what I say to my clients. Think less, do more.
Mhm.
Let me do the thinking for you. Because essentially, when you're in that process where you're overthinking and overanalyzing things, it's like paralysis by analysis, where you're thinking, right, what am I actually
Yeah,
worried about now?
Yeah.
And the
yeah.
fact that It's good.
Yeah, I don't have any prep clients, but the phrase that I use with my clients since then is, I'll steer the ship if you do the rowing.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, that's something I've ended up saying loads of times because it's kind of
It's true.
thinking, if you do
Yeah.
the work.
hmm It's bang on, mate. It's bang on. But obviously, gone through your prep, gone through obviously your wins, your pro card win. So, what is the future plans for Liam now?
Um,
We obviously we obviously have an idea of what you're going to be want to say, mate. But what are your future plans?
I think the reality is like it is a little bit of a blessing and a curse that I've kind of fluked this card in the first year, because I've now gone to literally the bottom of the pile and there's a lot of work to be done to, like, I don't want to step on a pro stage and come dead last just to say I've competed as a pro. So we're probably looking at about 2 year off season.
Hmm
You play it as it kind of comes, within 6 months time, we're like, fuck me, there's 10 pounds of lean tissue on the frame. Let's do a Elves Prague or something, which is late in the season.
hmm
That might come, but most likely we're looking at stepping on stage again 2026. So like, I got my bloods back. I think it was yesterday. They're relatively clean, all things considered, but there's still a bit of a health phase to be done.
For sure.
I've got stuff kind of in my life at the moment. Like, I'm moving city. I'm leaving my hometown. I'm moving to Nottingham in about 5 weeks or so.
That'd be
So
great.
just chilling for a little bit period of time, having a slice of life. I've got some business ventures. I've got, moving, and then we'll kind of kick on with a proper off season from sort of next year, and just see how things go.
Mate,
Basically,
class. This is what me and Connor were talking about before you came on, but the reason why we started this podcast was to obviously bring light to amateur bodybuilding. And there was literally an episode where we reviewed your physique.
Joe, who sent me that, actually, you had him on. I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before. Joshua Conley.
Hmm
Oh,
Yeah.
So that was the first time I saw your podcast and the first time I'd met him, because, to be honest, before this prep, I I kind of didn't. I paid fuck all attention to the industry. I kind of just did my own thing, and I didn't really know who people were. But I got a message off Joshua, like, replied to my story, and he was like, "Oh, I saw you on this podcast. Sent me a link, it was like minute whatever," and I watched it, and that was probably the first moment. This, I completely credit you guys with this. The first moment where I felt like somebody, because I was like, someone in the industry is actually talking about me, and not only are they talking, they're actually being really positive.
That's what we're gonna say because I remember saying there isn't that many flaws or weaknesses to it.
yeah.
He just needs more of literally
More
everything.
fucking tissue everywhere. More
Literally,
hand.
that's what it is. And we thought that was pretty cool because we've seen you come and I've followed your prep from the start, mate. But that might be your first, and Connor maybe quick pick traction to it, but a lot of other people as well. And seeing you go from the reason why we actually started this to ultimately the end goal, not the end goal, but the goal of being a pro and obviously becoming an established pro in a few years to come is pretty cool, mate. So it's just pretty mental how it's all like come
It's
round in
coming
a
full
circle.
circle.
It's come full circle. Whereas seeing you literally start prep and go, yeah, this guy's really only 22. I remember 22 looking like the next thing, wins a pro card. Now we've come back. Now we've come back talking about it. Now you won your pro card. But is there any area specifically that you're wanting to bring up, or is it literally just a case of having
Uh,
more,
Hamstrings. My
your hamstrings?
hamstrings. And you look at me in as like a side chest or something, and it's like, it's just fucking flat line. There's
Mhm.
nothing there. I got fucking cake. I got glutes for days, but there's no hamstring at all. Um, Funnily enough, like, when I asked Tyler for feedback, he didn't mention hamstrings at all. In fact, he said I was actually completely balanced.
Yeah.
But I still look at myself and know that whilst everywhere needs to come up, hamstrings massively.
Yeah, That's really cool, though, man. Because usually you have like three or four, maybe even five, everywhere to come up. But the fact that you're there, like, yeah, it's absolutely everywhere. But only one place where it's like a glaring weakness in your eyes is hamstring. Is always pretty cool. But nah, man, it's been good to have you on, mate, and it's been good to have you full circling round. Like I said, coming from an amateur where we saw you on, and there wasn't just one person, mate. I remember seeing loads of people wanting to rate your physique, and then we rated it. We said literally, there's not much that needs to be improved. I think it was about probably 3 months later, 2.5 months later, you win your pro card, and now you're here, what, 10 days after winning it, and we're
Yeah.
talking about how it was, mate. So it's pretty cool. But
I think I said to you as well on Instagram, I like throughout prep, I lost the ability to let music occupy my mind. So I ended up having podcasts on, and I'd have all the normal diversity, all of that normal stuff. But I went through hundreds of them, so I've went through all of the amateur hour podcasts over prep, and
mate,
now I've to be on it as well. It's just a kind of it is a bit of a surreal thing.
Mate, like I said, this is the whole, honestly, mate, firstly, thank you for listening, but generally, this is the whole reason why we do this. And the whole reason why me and Connor sparked up this podcast in the first place, mate. But it's an absolute pleasure to have you on. But tell the people about your socials, if where to find, I say where to find you on Instagram, but you can probably type your name in that you'll find it. But tell them, mate, and then they can obviously go find you afterwards.
Yeah, so I I'm probably going to start a YouTube. Don't know what the name will be. We'll just leave that for now. At the moment, I've got his Instagram. Um, fuck, it's changed now, isn't it? It's Liam Watson underscore IFBB Pro.
That's mental.
It took me a few days to have the confidence to change it, but eventually I was like, yeah, fuck it, I'm going to change it.
Mate,
So,
of course you would. It's just the people that they're like the first thing they do. It's like the first thing they do.
I just didn't
Instagram.
want to be that guy, but I was like, you know what? I've wanted this for years. Fuck
You
it.
earned it.
Like,
Like Connor said, you earned it, bro. Absolutely earned it, mate. Guess what? If I was doing it, I'll be the first person to go.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
But nah, mate, it's been great to have you on, mate. And like I said, we'll be following on your off season, you going through the pro ranks as the years to come, I'm sure. But thank you for coming on. And guys, go follow Liam. Obviously, he's bringing out a YouTube channel whenever that may be, but he is. And if you're on YouTube, like, subscribe, comment, tag us, all three of us, so people can see Liam on our lovely YouTube. And then Spotify, as always, give it a 5-star rating. And we'll see you in the next one. Love.